Welcome to part 2 of the PowerPoint Template Masterclass. In this segment, you're going to learn how to convert existing files into reusable PowerPoint templates. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, if you're working on multiple presentations that are over 50 slides, or if you're working on longer presentations like webinars and online courses that could be hundreds of slides, sometimes thousands of slides, or if you're part of a growing organization with multiple teams, solutions, and use cases, then having templates can save you a lot of time. Now, if you recall in video number 1, we talked about the difference between themes and templates. But what's common about both is that both require you to set up the font theme in PowerPoint. You also need to set up the color theme in the file. You also need to work within the structure of PowerPoint, the way PowerPoint sets up themes and slides. And if you do create any additional slides based on use case, they have to be working in conjunction with the way PowerPoint works. So in summary, a presentation template has a theme in it. When you go into the back end, into the slide master, the theme would usually contain the colors. That's where you set your colors, your fonts. And when you're working within the layout structure of the slides, you're working with the way PowerPoint works. And you have everything in place. You're using the headings, you're using the body, and you're using the structure that PowerPoint has in the slide layout. So if you haven't watched video number 1, please do watch it, because this presentation, the second part, will only make sense to you if you've watched video number 1 properly. So that's where you set up your theme properly, and the template usually contains the theme, but it also has some sample slide layouts where you tell your team about the brand style guides, how to use your logo, and you add some commonly used slides within your organization. Now, the way to know if your file is set up properly is when you're clicking in here and you'll notice everything snaps into place. So for example, I can switch slide layouts and everything snaps. I can even go to another layout and you'll notice that the text snaps into text boxes. And that's how you know you have a good template, when everything snaps into place. And another way to find out is if you have a good template in place is if you take another file that looks totally different, and if it's set up properly, you'll be able to click and merge slides. Now notice how it picks up the slides from my template. That's because this file is set up properly and this file is set up properly. But if they're not, that's where you run into issues and you end up doing a lot of manual formatting and things don't snap into place. Now, as you also recall, at the end of video 1, I showed you how many of the commercial templates on the market, including the site where you can find over 30,000 presentations, they're not actually templates, because I downloaded this file here and I showed you how, even though it looks nice and it's got like the look and feel of a template, but when you take a look at the back end here, you'll notice that it's just a bunch of image placeholders with no text boxes. And some of these slides that have permanent boxes like this one here, or this particular slide that's supposed to be a timeline, these are non-functional, because if you put them on the back end and you try to use them at the front end, it's not going to work. So for example, if I go in here and I say new slide and I try to pick one of these slides from the template, this is not editable. So you can see why files like this are not real templates. And if you're part of a big organization, this is going to create some headaches for you. You need a system that you can work with large teams and all of you have a consistent look and feel. And I also showed you how some of the presentations using Canva. Now, Canva is one of the popular tools that's emerging in terms of presentations, but Canva really works when you have short presentations up to 10 slides. As I showed you in video number 1, there's many templates that you can choose from, but a lot of them are done with manual formatting. So if you try to systemize this or add new page numbers, for example, you can see here that it's got, let me just bring this in a bit closer, that it has page numbers 3 and then 4 doesn't have, and 5. So what happens if I go in here and I add a page? And well, now you'll see that this one still says 5 even though it's slide 6. So if you're working on longer presentations with hundreds of slides and you have to start reshuffling things back and forth and nothing is updating automatically, this is going to create a lot of work for you. And that's why I say Canva is a great idea if you have shorter presentations, and these websites are great to get ideas for layouts, but they are not real templates. To create a real template, you have to work within the structure of PowerPoint, and you have to understand how to work with the slide master and also how to create themes and templates. So if you haven't done so, please watch video number 1. In this particular case, what we're going to do in this particular segment is we're going to take one of the templates that the files that I downloaded from Canva. Now, if you remember in video number 1, I downloaded the this particular presentation, you can do that in Canva. You can create slides, and you can click download to PowerPoint, and you'll be able to open the file. Now, when you take a closer look at this file, you're going to realize that it's not really a template, because if I try to pick one of the layouts, you'll notice that they are not in place. Even if I try to switch, nothing really happens, because all I see is text boxes that are not being used. So that's how you know that this is really not a template. So I'm going to show you shortly how we can clean this up and how we can turn it into a reusable template that you can use within your organization. And the other file that I wanted to show you as well was the other presentation that we downloaded, which is this one here. I do like a lot of the layouts in here that we can extract, but at the same time, if you look in here, if I try to change the layouts, it's a non-usable file. You can see here it's already messing things up. This is not a template that snaps in place and not something you'd want to share with your teams. So let's start by converting a Canva presentation into a reusable PowerPoint template. Now, before I start, I want to address a commonly asked questions is, can you upload a PowerPoint presentation into Canva so that you can format it in Canva? And the answer is, as of January 2022, no. Canva allows you to upload. So if you click here on the upload, you'll be able to upload images, videos, and audio. And in terms of images, as of now, it's mostly JPEG and PNG. So you cannot import SVG graphics or vector graphics like Illustrator as of now, or PDF. So if you have a PowerPoint presentation, you might be able to export it to JPEG and bring it here, which is going to be useless because you'll not be able to edit it. So the way I would use Canva is I would use it for ideas, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I know many people are using it as a starting point for presentations. But really, Canva, when it started, I think it was 2013 or 14, at least that's when I joined, it was mostly for social media posts. And that's where you would go in here and create some posts. And now, of course, they have expanded. You can see here they added some stories. So you can do the videos, you can do logos, documents, posters, flyers. I would do it maybe if you have a banner that makes, but once you start working on longer files, maybe even newsletters, if it's maybe 4-8 pages, you're okay. But once you start having a longer newsletters, really Canva is not the tool. It's great for a few pages, but when you have multiple pages and longer files, I would not use it. I would use it for ideas, kind of like what we're discussing here, where you find something that you like and now you get to download it. So I'm going to download this and take it into PowerPoint, where I can turn it into a theme and a template that can be used on multiple presentations. So I'm going to open this file here right now. So you'll notice I've got this file, and before I clean it up, I need to look and assess what is it I like about this file and what do I need to turn it into a file that is reusable. So the first thing I look up and I see, okay, I've got my cover. So I do like that cover. I can probably mimic that and turn it into the cover and the template. I've got another layout here where it's got a centered top heading and a body. So that means I need to create a slide that's got that title and the text box below it. This one here tells me that I need to create something with the text heading, title on the side, and a content box on the side, and allow room to add manual graphics. So this is now where you get to assess and see what to create. Same here. This is the one where it's got a title. All of this can be done manually. It does not need to be part of the template. In this particular case, we need a title on the side, and this could be done manually. Now, if you think this layout would be used more than 5 or 10 times within your presentations, of course, you can turn that into part of the theme slides. So this is what we're looking for. And the second thing you would need to look for is setting up your colors and choosing your fonts. So when I'm looking at this file, I notice that it's using manual fonts, the Vesper Libra Regular. So this is a Google font, and the other one, Assistant, I think that's a Google font as well. So these are free font. I can download them to my computer and set them up as part of my template. But this is the question that comes up now. Do you really want to do that? Or do you want to share your file with multiple people? So in that case, we might have to go with a safe font. So these are the questions I would ask. What are the colors, the layouts, and the fonts? And the next step would be to go into the Slide Master and now create these slides based on the layout that PowerPoint works with. Now, if you notice, this file looks like there's something odd. We've got the placeholders are right here towards the top left, and the rest of the slides is empty. So something tells me that this slide size might be wrong. So I'm going to click here on the File, Page Settings. And it's true, it says custom. So I'm going to go with the widescreen because that's what most people have right now. It's a widescreen that fits within the YouTube and basic video layouts. If I click widescreen, you'll notice everything adjusted. And now using the principles we talked about in video number 1, I'm going to clean this out. But since this is going to be a lot of work trying to resize everything, actually, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to click here on the right click and say Insert Slide Master. So now I've got a fresh start from PowerPoint. I know that this is what PowerPoint works with, and if I spend my time cleaning out this one, it'll be better time spent. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set the colors, set the fonts, reshape all the layouts to something that can work with my theme, and then I will go ahead and clean out this presentation. So to save time, I went ahead and cleaned up the slides. You'll notice here that on the first slide on my new theme here, because you notice it says number 2, number 1 was the one that came with Canva, so we don't want that. Eventually I'll delete it. But for the second part, I've now cleaned it out. Let me just go back here to the first slide. You'll notice that I'm using the correct title and I've got the footers in place. Even if I don't need them, I've got them on the basic slide. So watch video number 1 to find out why. For the font, I could have used the Google font, but instead I wanted to make this presentation safe for everyone to use. So I went into the font and I used the ones from Office. Now, if you'll notice, if you scroll down here, it's using something that's very similar. It's got a serif font for the title and a sans serif for the body. So it looks similar, and now I know that whoever opens this file, or if I click share, this is going to work for most people on their computers. So I've got that part in place. For the colors as well, I created my own customized color theme. So you'll notice here, I created a theme and I chose my colors and I gave it a name. I called it Canva Business. Now you can give it any name you want. So this is in place. The next step I did was to go in here and using the file structure from PowerPoint. So you'll notice in PowerPoint, if I click on rename, it's using what PowerPoint uses for the basic slides. The title slide, that's in place. That's where I put my graphic. I've got my fonts in place. It's using the heading. The second part is using the body. So everything is set up the way PowerPoint understands it. And this will make it easier for you to merge files, because if your files are not merging well, chances are it was not set up properly. I also created an alternate cover with no image. So this allows me to have that background, but then I can put my own custom vector graphics if I have something else, or an image it allows me, or I can just do whatever I want with this side. And this one, I gave it a new name. You'll notice it's called Title Slide Alternate. Now, this is not available on the default theme in PowerPoint. It's something I custom created. The other one, this is a default from PowerPoint. This is also a default. I believe this was the section header. This is the one that PowerPoint recognizes. Now, I created alternate section headers that can work with the layouts I want. You'll notice I'm mostly focusing on the image, on the text placeholders, because that's what I want to snap in place. The other graphics and diagrams I can move around manually, but what I want is I want to let PowerPoint know what's a title and what's other text boxes so that things snap into place. Now you'll notice here, let me just click here. I think I was clicking on the title. You notice if I click on title, hide and show, the title is in place because it was set up properly on the first slide. So everything is set up properly. Now something else that I added is those slides that were from Canva. These are inspired by Canva. You'll notice I made them as part of the layout, the default layout. So now I can select them. And I also created something that was not there, but I know most people will need. Most people will eventually need a slide that has a title, some content, and has a picture placeholder. So that's why I always add that in most of my templates, and really in this case the theme as well. The theme is the slide layouts and the template is the content. So you'll notice I've got an image placeholder for something on the right and something on the left. Now let me show you how that will translate on the front end. So if I'm on the front end of the presentation and we'll go to some of the new slides, you'll notice I've got these image placeholders which were not before, which were not part of the old layout. So you'll see here I've got an image on the right, and if I switch to the left, you'll notice everything snaps in place. Now, the reason I like to have a right and left image is precisely because of this image example. You'll notice she's looking towards her to the side, and it's going to look odd because most people are going to wonder, what is she looking at? So in this particular case, I would want an image that has her looking towards the, I guess, towards the left. She's on the right and she's looking towards the left. So she's looking towards the text. And the same in this particular case. You'll notice that the reason I have these alternating layouts is because it's going to look odd if he's facing outwards. I want him to be facing towards the text. So this is what I did with the layout. Now notice some of the other slides, they're picking the one with the title where I created this could be an option, then it gives me the space to do whatever I want. In this particular case, I needed something, let's see, what did I pick here? I picked something blank, so everything is manual. So you can decide if you want to use something with, or you can leave some slides that have some manual formatting as well. So that's where you get to assess. In this particular case, I think it's got a fixed background. You'll notice the background isn't in place, the text placeholders are in place. The only thing that's movable are these graphics. So that's why you would have something with a background that allows you to add custom graphics on it. This one as well is a simple one. It's got that title only, everything else is manual. But even if it's manual, you'll notice that I did pay attention to make sure that I'm using the body. It needs to be always using the body, the theme fonts. That's where you check that. So that's part of the cleanup. But now you might be wondering, well, what happened if you just have an old slides? How did I merge them? Or how did I clean them out? Because if I go in here now and choose the new layout, it's not going to work. That's because the other slide was done manually. So if you face this situation, my best suggestion would be to click Add New Slide and then go into the layouts and select the heading and now add your text. So that's how you do it for the heading. For example, for this particular slide, once again, I would click here. I would click on the theme, the one from the theme templates, and then it'll be easy for you to just copy the text. I'm going to go in here, copy it, and paste it into the new theme slide. The same thing I'm going to do, and it should work. But now notice if I click on here, you will notice it's not using the theme font. The same thing with this one. But because it's got with a title, but because it's using the right theme template, if I click on the reset, so this is the reset, you'll notice it says reset. So I'm going to click reset. You'll notice now if I click on the fonts, it's using the heading and it's using the body. And this one is not, because this one is all manually formatted, and you can tell because it's got these text boxes. So then I can go ahead and delete the ones I don't want and then keep the ones I want. Now for the page number, you'll notice that in the Canva file, they had the page number here manually. So I don't want that manually. If I do want it on my slide, I want it to show up using the PowerPoint. And once again, it's easy to use. If I click on the insert header and footer, I can choose if I show the number on the first slide or not. If I don't want it to show, I can unhide it, say apply. You'll notice it's gone. Something like this box here, you might have to do manually. So this is where you get to decide, is it really worth the effort to get that look, or would you rather just go for speed? If you got multiple teams working on your presentations, they're not going to know how to create these boxes manually. You're going to create a lot of work for them. Whereas a lot of people know that if they just click on the slide and they use the boxes, it'll format. So it's up to you to decide, is it really worth that extra effort? If you're a designer, you can add that extra box yourself manually. But when you're designing for larger groups, you need to think, how can I make this as easy as possible for them to work with presentations? So and now you can see if they can click here, they can switch layouts and it's going to work. And if they want to create an infographic below it, and if they choose another layout, you see everything is clean and snaps in place for them. So this is where you get to decide and evaluate how it's going to work with your teams. And before you share the file with your teams and other group members, you'll need to make sure that it only has one theme in it, because right now you'll notice that this one has the office theme, the old slides, and it has the new ones that I created. So the reason I can still see the old ones is because there are some slides on this presentation using the old one. So if you encounter that issue, its chances are that's what's happening. And in this particular case, I know because I have not cleaned out this one. You can see this is the one with the manual formatting. So all of these ones, I'm going to select them. These were the ones that came from Canva. They have the manual formatting. And until I clean them out, I'm just going to click here. And instead of choosing one of the old layouts, I'm going to temporarily click on the blank because I know actually there's nothing on these slides using a theme. So I'm going to click blank and notice what's going to happen. Now, if I click again, that old theme is gone. So you want to make sure when you're sharing your files, there's only one theme attached to it. So you can either see it from the layout here, or you can click on View Master and just ensure there's one. If there's multiple, because I see that a lot with many files, if they have multiple, it's going to be confusing for other people. And that's how we go about and clean this presentation. Now, I've already done that, so I'm going to delete all of the top slides, and you've already seen my version of the clean out presentation, which is now much easier to use for anyone in the organization. It's much scalable, and it has most of the layouts that most people would use. Now, of course, you would test, and over time you can fine tune and you can release updates to the templates. And one thing I wanted to mention is that with Canva, you cannot resell this template. So once you make it into PowerPoint, you cannot resell it with these graphics because they're from Canva. There's copyrighted issues. So if you plan to create presentations to sell, then you need to make sure that you're using graphics that are licensed for resale. You'll have to look into that. But if you're creating this as part of a template to use for your webinars, for your courses, or maybe for one particular client only, then that it's okay to use these graphics and share them with your clients and your teams. So the same principles apply to really any file, but in this example, I'm going to show you how I'm taking a commercial presentation that I paid for and downloaded, and how I'm turning it into a reusable PowerPoint template. Now, in the case of this particular commercial template, you'll notice that we have a lot more slides to work with here, not like Canva where we had 10. I think there's up to 57 slides. So when you're looking at this file, you also have to start asking yourself, who's going to be using this file and what's the application? Do you have a company that deals with any mockups for maybe online apps? If not, then you can delete some of the items that don't apply for that particular company. And are you creating an online course? Is this a sales presentation? If it's an online course that has nothing to do with business, then you don't need the SWOT analysis layout. So just go through it and try to pick what it is that you want. Now, you might notice that there are no images in this file because when I downloaded it from this particular site, you'll notice that the mockups showed that there were some nice images. And that's because you cannot you cannot embed images in files you plan to sell. So you can see all of these stock images, they have to be purchased individually for each company. So that's why when you download these templates, they are just placeholders. So they look great as ideas in the file, but when you download them, this is what you get. You get files with just blank placeholders. So keep that in mind. And not only are they blank placeholders, they're not usable because if I click on here, you'll notice that it's not even using the layout from PowerPoint. It's not even using the font theme. If I click on it, you'll notice that the theme is Calibri and everything on here is manually formatted. So if I click and I switch layouts, you'll notice that the template does not snap into place. So this is right now a non-functioning file. So just like we did with the Canva file, I'm going to go into the View Master, Slide Master. And instead of trying to clean this one out, I'm going to scroll actually at the top here and I'm going to say Insert Slide Master. So now I've got a new set of slides that I can customize, and I know that this is the structure that PowerPoint uses because if I right click on the name here, you're going to notice it is using the title slide, where if I go up to the top here and start renaming, notice that whoever created this file, okay, title, you'll notice, well, they have no title. So if I try to merge presentation with a title slide, that's where you're going to start encountering issues. Now let's see, what is this slide called? If I right click, 050 title slide. So whoever created this presentation, you can definitely tell this template, they have no idea how to work with themes and they have no ideas how to work with template. And unfortunately, as I said before, most of the presentations on this particular platform, because I've downloaded many, they're all the same. So let me just now show you, just to prove that. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go click the new, sort by new. So according to the site, this is the latest one. I'm going to make sure I'm choosing PowerPoint. So let's download this. This is the latest and greatest that was added to the site. So I'm going to download here, and you can see that this site gives me an option to license it for a particular client. So in this case, I'm downloading it for my company. So I'm going to get a license for Magnas Media. So I'm going to download and I'm going to open the file. Let's just open it and I'll show you exactly right away when we're opening it. Okay, it opened it in a folder. So let me just go in here. Theme files. Okay, so we notice that they're giving us the file not as a template, as a PPT file, which is a main file. Let's see here. Once again, it's a PowerPoint. It's not a template. And do we have any themes? Okay, so we do have some theme colors, which is okay. So that'll allow you to switch colors. I think these might be helpful. These theme colors might be helpful. We've got some with the gray. So if anything, I feel this file has some value with the color palettes, assuming we like them. So I'm just gonna see if you want to use them, then you'll have to move all of these XML files into your themes folder. So check video number 1 to find out how you do that. For now, what I'm gonna do is, so this one says the icon pack. I don't need that. I want to open the presentation itself, and I'm going to go for the light. So let's open this file and see what we end up with. So this is the latest and greatest from the site. This is the latest one that was added. I'm clicking here, and once again, you can see this is not a template. If you share this file with anyone in your organization, they're going to go crazy trying to work with this structure, because you can see here there's no text boxes. If you watch video number 1, if I go in here, rename, okay, so this is the title slide. Now, this is not going to merge with any presentations because you'll notice there's no text placeholders. Let me see, what is this one here? Title and content. How could this be title and content where you have no title slides and no content? So now you can see what I mean when I tell you that when you go to this particular website, you're going there for ideas. You're not necessarily going there to buy a template. So this is a gap in the marketplace. And if you learn how to clean out these templates, you can come in here and find quick solutions and create templates for your clients using some of the inspired ideas. But once again, you'll notice that this file is really not usable because, okay, sure, you've got some graphics, so I'm not really sure if they were able to include that, if that's maybe these were royalty free and they were able to re-license them, but you'll notice there are no pictures. That's because you cannot add stock photos into a presentation. So let's now forget about that and go back to the presentation that we were working on, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to clean it out. So we've got the main theme here, which was part of the presentation, and I clicked on and created a secondary set, which I will be cleaning. So to ensure that I name it properly, I'm going to go here, rename, and rather than say custom design, I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to say it's called the Metro Legal. I think that's what they called it. So that way, when I save it, this will be the name of my template. So I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to keep these names here. I'll clean it out, and I'm going to select some of the layouts that would work for my kind of presentation, and then I'll show you what I cleaned out and how I set it up in place. So here's my cleaned out version of the file, and you're going to notice that I created some slides with a sidebar and some without. So I did like that aspect in this particular file that I downloaded. I did like that sidebar, and I like the fact how some of them did not have, like in this particular file, things are done manually. So you can see here, it's not really part of the template, and this would not be usable for most people. So I had to decide what can I do and lock up in the template. And so that's when I picked with a sidebar and without, and you'll be able to see that here. So you'll notice that I created one theme called Metri Local sidebar and one without. And so I'll be able to switch back and forth. So for example, if I find this is busy and I don't want that, I can go and select some of my other layouts that don't have a sidebar. Now this placeholder was also from that particular presentation, so you'll notice it was here. Now you might be wondering, how come this one has that purple accent and mine doesn't? That's because PowerPoint, when you put an image placeholder in the theme, so that's the theme in here. When I put that in here, let me just show you where that is. When I put an image placeholder here, if I do put an accent, if I put a shape on top, so for example, you can see here, if I put a shape, even when I go into the front end and I click reset, you'll notice that the picture is always on top. So PowerPoint always does that, and you'll notice it's here at the bottom, so I can't see it. So the only way to really add that accent is to add it manually. So now you get to ask yourself, if you're creating this presentation for yourself and you're okay doing that manual formatting, that's okay. But if you give this to your teams and then they go in here and then they select a different layout, they're not going to know what to do with this little triangle. Now you might know, if you're a designer, you might be able to switch things around, but then some of your team members might not. So that's why usually I avoid these kind of accents on my templates, because I want to make it as easy as possible for anyone using my templates to be able to switch back and forth. So you can see here right away, if I can switch, I can Now go to this layout, or I can go to the other layout, and things just work properly. So that's what I did. I created one aspect with a sidebar, and I did like that collage of photos. So you'll notice here I created it in with the images on the right and images on the left. So it's very easy to snap in place. And now for these placeholders where you've got like a device that you want to mock up, I highly recommend that you put this manually. I know I don't want this to be part of the template because I want to be able to move this around and structure it. Whereas if you notice in this file that I downloaded as a commercial template, let's just go and see here, this file, some of their devices. Now notice I can move the picture, but I cannot move that device because it's part of that slide. So this is, it's going to be very frustrating for most people. And then if they click here, you'll notice that this is really not functioning as a template. So that's why I would always recommend to focus on the text placeholders, and then you can use the images manually. And you'll notice I've got this one here for the charts as well. And then I created an alternate layout that does not have the sidebar, and it could come in handy when you've got infographics, because if I put an infographic, now I did create one with the title and a subtitle with the sidebar in case it's needed, but then it might just get a little bit busy. So I'm going to reset this, and then you might have to move some of that content a little bit towards the side so it fits. But you can notice that it does, it's easy to format. And once again, with these kind of images, everything is manual. What I am really using in this particular slide, I'm using the one here with the top heading and a subheading. These ones are now formatted properly. They're not part of the background. You'll notice when I click here, it's using the heading, the title, and subtitle, and then that's where you design it. You do not design it like they did in this particular file, where it was in the back end, which no one will be able to edit anyway. There it is, this one here. So there's no one will be able to edit that file. So when you're creating these presentations, you can see here I can't. Keep in mind who's going to be using the file so that you can choose a layout that works. Now, because I took the time to set this file properly, now notice what's going to happen. If I bring another presentation, even if it does not match, but if I click and drag, notice how everything snaps into place. Now you'll notice that the page number is not, the chart is not formatted well, but all I have to do is click on the reset, and you'll notice how it snaps. Now if I don't want that sidebar, I can go choose the one with the same thing, the content with caption without the sidebar, and notice how everything goes back in place. And that's how you know if you've got a good template or not. Now we still have to probably change the footer to match my particular slide, but that's easy. I can just go into here, go insert, and I'm going to check headers and footer. Now you notice it has that because I merged it from another presentation, but now what I can do is I can go grab the footer that was on this particular slide, and now I can add it into this slide as well. So I can just go put it here and just say apply, right? Not apply to all, just apply to the slide. If I say apply, now notice how it's updated and everything is going to work again. I can even go in here and choose the one with the sidebar and things snap into place. Congratulations, because now you know more about themes and templates than most people do. You know how to set up new files from scratch, and you know how to convert existing files into reusable templates. In video number 3, you're going to learn how to diagnose and fix misbehaving files. So if you get any files from particular clients or from some other people and the files are not merging well, I'm going to show you some of the most common problems and how to fix them.